All right. So I just got shared this on my Discord from MPause. You're gonna check this out. This is a user on YouTube called Jeff Weaver for Mortal Kombat Legacy Collection AI Changed Why. Have a look.
Hello. What's up, man? So, I need to discuss something. It's just, I don't know. Like, the new Mortal Kombat collection has come out. They've been doing updates for it. You know, like getting the online stuff going, because everyone's complaining that you can't play online. This game, maybe this is a rant, I don't know. This game was made for the people that grew up playing the arcades in the 90s. We didn't have any online back then. You don't need online to play these games.
Well, we didn't have online back then because online didn't exist, right? But I guarantee you, if we did have online, we would have been playing this shit online, right? Now, like, get my ice cream bowl out of the way so I don't look like a complete hobo. The thing is, though, right, is that when it comes to like these games, playing them in the arcade, yes, you can play them single player, but you also play them multiplayer. People have to realize that the multiplayer component of online is just taking it from a physical location to a digital location. That's it, right? So if you went to the arcade to play against people, just think of it like that, right? Just think of it exactly the same way, right? So yeah, you can play these games single player. I do play them. I play them single player. I've been playing these games single player for like 30 years plus, actually. But at the end of the day, like if you want to get online and play with people, there has been some major issues and roadblocks with this collection.
And then the one other thing that they're doing soon with the update, it's already going through beta on PC. They're changing the AI for the arcades. And apparently, from what I watched, it's only the arcades. Consoles don't, the console versions of the games don't get this AI update. Except for Trilogy, MK Trilogy.
Am I on a boat or something? Anyway.
To me, man, don't change it. Don't add it to where you can make it easier. Especially Mortal Kombat 2. Or any of the arcades, honestly. Because, to me, if you do that, you're losing the arcade experience. If you...
Well, I know what he's saying, right? But like those of us that enjoyed the arcade, like you can't experience that really. Like, and let's be fair, right? So if you're gonna set up an arcade to try and replicate how you would do it in the real world, well, Mortal Kombat Legacy isn't doing that. Right, we don't actually have a physical floor we're running around on with arcade machines set up like we do in Grand Blue Fantasy versus Rising, you know, or Street Fighter 6 with the Battle Hub, or Tekken 8's Arcade Lounge. That's trying to emulate as best as it can an arcade where you can see other characters, like other players running around and stuff like that. We don't have that. Like, we don't have that at all, right? And so this is why it's an issue. Right, when you know it's like, oh, we need to gatekeep this stuff. These are old games, and there's nothing stopping you from playing them in the difficulty that they are. Mortal Kombat 2's AI, like people go, like the only way that you can beat these AIs is to cheese it. You have to come up with cheesy techniques and exploits in order to beat the AI because the AI cheats. That's not fun, right? In the grand scheme of things, it's not fun. Why? Because you only end up playing a couple of ways, if just one, right? Not to mention the fact that, like I've said many times, like these games were designed to take your money in the arcade. That's how they were going to make their money, right? So they made them cheat versus what you could do against an actual player. So therefore, you know, once you figured out essentially the trick to beating it, it wasn't that much of a problem. But these are old games, man. right? And they're not taking away the old difficulty. It's still there. This is just allowing people that did struggle and do struggle, right? We got a fan of the channel with MLA Gaming 4K. Shout out to him, who's actually a disabled fellow. There's many, many people out there that are disabled to play fighting games. Should they not have, you know, the option to, you know, be able to play these games, you know, in a way that's easier for them? Like, nobody, I'll be honest, nobody gives a shit about beating these old games anymore, right? Nobody cares. Because the reality is that you had to come up with cheesy things to beat them. And that's not, yeah, like, fine now to go, yeah, we did it this way, but it doesn't hold any weight anymore. People are spending real money, you know, and if they just want to breeze through a tower, you know, and the good thing is about having this proper difficulty setting is that you can actually experiment a lot easier with the game fighting back against you than just sitting in a training area, you know. So if you want to go up the tower and fight all the different characters, you can, and experiment with different things, because now you're not locked into having to do a certain thing a certain way just to beat it.
Want to relive the arcade days of Mortal Kombat, you have to have the AI completely destroy you, because that's just what you expect. And I had a guy tell me on Facebook, this game cheats. It cheats.
Well, it does.
And it's
literally
really
does.
bad. Yeah, of course it cheats, dude. That's how they kept you putting quarters in back in the day.
Listen, I can guarantee you 100%, guarantee you, that if they released a fighting game like that right now, with that level of cheating, it would fail. It would have been review bombed, justifiably, and they would have had to fix it. This ain't no Dark Souls, right, where you walk in the door knowing that the game is going to be tough, but not cheating. Right, that's the difference. Once you learn out the patterns with Dark Souls bosses and stuff like that, and other NPCs in the world, then, you know how to work around it. It doesn't just suddenly cheat, you know, because you're suddenly beating it, right? It's not the Dark Souls of fighting games. It was just, you know, they were cheaters.
You get so pissed, you would start just feeding quarters trying to beat this. You know what I mean? And he said, there are no quarters anymore. We should be able to control how hard the game is. I don't want to turn on Mortal Kombat 2 and get through the game in 5 minutes. That is not fun. And the cheap AI is to be expected, man. There's a reason that Mortal Kombat has had the name that it has had since 1992. MK2 is arguably the hardest fighting game of the 90s. And I don't know, I feel like
Because of the cheats.
if you change the AI and you turn it down to where every opponent is as easy as the first fight, that's not fun.
But it's not fun having to play only one way to beat it. And again, Mortal Kombat 2 has two AIs. One half of the roster use one half. And so essentially the exploit would be is that you use them to get all the way up to, say, Kintaro or Shao Kahn, die, and then choose one of the other characters that has the really insane AI to fight against. And then you beat, and then you get the ending, right? Now, I can actually play through the whole tower using this modified difficulty, using the other characters for the first time without sitting there having to go, oh, I've got to try and figure out this exploit or that exploit. I've already done this shit, right? For decades, right? Mortal Kombat games in the old days would all have a baseline, you know, they would all have a baseline fighting game exploit and AI that would work. And it's just not fun. And again, you know, you are not going to get more people in if you gatekeep a difficulty. It's just a video game. Like, it is literally just a video game. Nobody gives a shit.
You don't have to try to win. You can win. Everybody that's complaining obviously did not play the arcades. They're all used to the new modern Mortal Kombat, where it doesn't kick your ass because they've changed the AI.
Well, to be fair, it can kick your ass if you're playing on a high difficulty and you don't know what you're doing, right? But like all fighting games outside of like the old Mortal Kombats, you know, it felt like you had a lot more freedom of expression when it came to combat, you know, versus what we got in the classic MK games. So, you know, like I never felt like playing a Street Fighter back in the day, or Samurai Showdown or something like that, where it felt like, oh, you know, it felt like the computer was literally cheating against me. I don't remember it myself, right? But MK definitely did.
Trilogy has the arcade AI. That game is hard.
It's got
Now,
Ultimate
for
MK3.
it, I probably would experiment with turning the AI down to see, you know, kind of what it does. But on the arcades, leave them as they are. If you're going to apply this update, apply it to the console versions, man. Because
what difference does it make?
MK3 on Sega, I put that on very easy. Novice ladder with 95 continues in the cheats menu. And within 3 fights, dude, I was getting destroyed. I could not win. To the point I just turned it off. Because I just got bored of sitting here, you know, just getting my ass handed to me. Like, I don't remember the console versions being that difficult.
Hang on, did he just admit to using cheats? I mean, like, I don't know. Listen, like, I don't care if you use cheats. I don't give a fuck, right? It's your time, it's your business, right? That doesn't bother me. You can't sit there and advocate for one side going, it's got to be left authentic, and the other side, yeah, but the home consoles, we can cheat our ass off. What difference does it make? The AI, like, not including Nintendo here, because Nintendo fucks with the AI, but on Sega and every other platform that they brought these games out, except for the Master System and Game Gear, because that was way toned down. The 16-bit versions had arcade accurate AI, meaning that I could learn something at home and take it to the arcade and it would work 100%. Right? So I don't know, there was no, oh, it was easier. The arcade difficulty can also be modified if you get into the dip switches and change the difficulty. Right? It's just that when you went to the arcade, they would set it to, like, you know, generally medium, right? So like by the time you get to, like, say the third fight, suddenly the computer kicks into high gear, and it will just start, you know, it'll start reading your inputs and all sorts of shit, right? And you think to yourself, well, okay, well, when I go home, I'll, you know, when I get a home console port, I'll do the same. But it doesn't kind of really work out that way, right? Which is why they've added in this modified AI. Again, it's separate. It's not replacing it, it's separate. So that way people can go, you know what, I just want to have some fun. And they might work out new techniques, new combos, new ways to be able to deal with certain characters, because they're not having to go, oh, I've only got to play this one-dimensional way to beat the AI. Now I can go, oh, well, I can do whatever I want. I'll see what works, what doesn't. You know, maybe they might crank it up a little bit more, so that way it's a more difficult fight each time, but ultimately, I think this is good, especially for people coming new into it.
Like Mortal Kombat 2 on Super Nintendo. You can put that on very easy and play the game. It's very comfortable. It's very fun. There's no stress like there is in the arcades.
That's not true. That's not true, again, because, like, you can also modify the difficulty on the arcades, and at a certain point, it kicks into hard anyway. And they modified the SNES AI anyway. Nintendo has been fucking with their AI in the classic 2D games forever, which is why I never hold them to a high standard. Even if they have better graphics, even if they have better sound to a degree, I will never hold it to the same standard as the Sega ones, because those ones kept the AI accurate to the arcade.
But if I'm playing Mortal Kombat 2 arcade and it has that title of arcade, I expect it to deliver the ass whooping that only that game can deliver. Now, I'm just bitching because they're changing it, but you don't have to use it. You can leave it turned off. And that's most likely what I will do. I might experiment with it and see what it does, but I think I'm gonna leave that turned off.
I listen. I can promise you, right? Like I said, half the roster in MK2, right? Again, like, does not have the same AI as the other half. So we're talking about characters like Katana, Molina. I think Kung Lao's in there, Liu Kang's in there, and Raiden. I think that's the 6 that are covered under that crappy AI, right? And some people would even cheese it with something like Shang Tsung, right? So they would use Shang Tsung, and then when the computer would kick into hard, they just change to like Scorpion or Sub-Zero or something. And then the AI modifies to the easier AI, but then use it to then exploit, right? But I guarantee you, like I've been testing it out, right? I've always played these games on the hardest difficulty and beat it, fine, whatever, right? But I can tell you right now, it's a lot of fun being able to just sit there and just relax and play them. You know, I don't need to have no dick measuring competition, right, against a cheating fucking AI. Right? It cheats. I want to have a little bit more, you know, I want to have a little bit more sort of, you know, excitement when it comes to, you know, my MK experience. And regardless of whether it's console or arcade, to me it's the same, right?
Because to me, it takes away from the arcade experience. And yes, I did go to the arcades. When I was a kid, playing Mortal Kombat 2, I went to movie theaters that had it, playing it.
Theater? I haven't heard somebody say that in fucking forever. Theater.
Made it a pretty good ways up the ladder. I even beat it a couple times. Because I just happened to have just enough quarters and enough luck to win.
Well, I beat it more than Christ had apostles, right? And I can tell you right now, I would play the same way with a certain subset of characters every time with the MK2 arcade AI. And the same AI also applied at home on the Sega Genesis Mega Drive as well, or the 32X, or any other version they made of MK2, and of course, including of also the other games as well, right? Again, it was made to cheat. It was made to read your inputs, right? It doesn't teach you much about the game, right? Except for having extreme patience, okay? Where you really start to learn the mechanics of the game, to be perfectly honest, and seeing what actually will work and what won't work is against another opponent. Because then, you know, you're not trying to fight a cheater, you're fighting someone that is within the same parameters as what you've got to work with. And then you can see what actually will work or not.
Now, I sit here and play this arcade that I have over here. It's just like the PlayStation version. The AI and the programming on each of these, on the console here, and the arcade that's over here next to me, are exactly the same. And one kid told me, it's going to be really nice, dude, to be able to land Scorpion Spear once. In Mortal Kombat 2, you can land Scorpion Spear.
No, you can't. Alright, and to be fair, he hasn't finished his statement, right? But you can land Scorpion Spear, right, in Mortal Kombat 2 on the SNES. But the standard coding for Mortal Kombat 2 when you use Scorpion's Harpoon on arcade or Mega Drive, right, or 32X or any other version that's come out later than that, you can never land the harpoon as a standing special move. They'll always block it every single time. It's like Scorpion's freeze. They'll always block it. Now you can put it into a combo. You can do a jump kick, harpoon, uppercut, stuff like that. Right? But you will never, ever, ever nail them unless they've modified the actual traditional AI. Which means that if anyone's advocating, like if he's advocating for the SNES version, well, the SNES version modified the true authentic AI, which doesn't make it authentic, which means it's a fraud. As far as I'm concerned, they fraudulently changed, and I'm going to be facetious to say that, right? But like, they've changed the AI, made it so you can literally hit him with I'm pretty sure you can hit him with a freeze as well. But you can't do that in traditional MK2 AI code.
And it's like, how do you do that? Well, when you get up to the 4th or 5th fight, you get a jump kick in. When you jump away, the other character, the AI, will jump towards you. That's when you throw the spear, it will hit almost every time. You hit them, you pull them to you, do a roundhouse to knock them away, rinse and repeat.
Rinse and repeat. Right? That's what I'm saying. Like, we figured this stuff out like 30 years ago. But it's kind of dull. You know what I mean? Like, there's no freedom of expression with gameplay.
Now, you will get unlucky sometimes. There are times when you will get unlucky. And it will jump kick you out of the air. Or Melina will do her air size and get you that way. But if you get with her, if you get in close enough when you do your jump kick, you'll knock her out of that move. I mean, yeah, it's cheap. It cheats. Of course it cheats. Like I said, that's how they kept you spending money on it. You know?
Listen, man, if you're listen, right? If your wife is hot, right, and she cheats all the time, I don't give a fuck how hot she is. It's still cheating, right? It's not good, right? It doesn't matter how hot she is. It's still bad. You know that this is happening. Same thing, right? It's just like this is what has prevented some. Like we might be okay with it because we're hardcore, right? But I don't think of just myself. I think about all the other MK fans that may have wanted to play the old games, but maybe they just don't have the patience or they don't give a fuck about trying to learn these cheap-ass tactics just to beat it. Having to override a cheating AI might give you some measure of like, ooh, but it doesn't last very long. I'd much rather sit there and be able to have a little bit more freedom of expression when I do my combat now. You know, see what sticks, see what doesn't. You know, and allow myself to sort of improve or explore some different gameplay mechanics. You know, now that I don't have an AI that is constantly reading my inputs and all sorts of crazy shit.
And I want that. I don't want to sit here and just completely annihilate Mortal Kombat 2. It feels un-American. I want the game to annihilate me. Now, when it comes out,
this isn't like cuckoldry for like certain MK fans, is it? Right? Look, I to like not being funny now, but like I like the idea, you know, if you're getting online and you're playing against people and they're better than you, it's a good thing because then you learn. Right? You actually learn by fighting against someone that even if they're beating your ass and you're taking it in and you're going, okay, don't jump. Don't do this against this guy. He's very good on his high kick roundhouse and, you know, anti-air. Right? So let's not do that. Let's try and bait him out of that. Let's try and take that away from him so that way we can do something else, right? And this is the thing, okay? Is that like we're dealing now with like a cheating AI. There is no sort of like, oh, you know, this is some grand thing that we've done by beating it. It's not, because once everyone else figured out the trick, it wasn't difficult then. It just wasn't difficult, right?
When the update hits consoles, I'll be doing a stream. If anybody wants to watch this on my channel, and we'll see how this AI works out. Will I leave it on? Maybe. If I feel like I just want to play a quick game real quick and not spend, you know, an hour getting through it.
See? He's fucking warming up to it. He's warming up to it. See? 100%. Of course.
But if I don't have a lot of time, I might use it. But if I'm going to be playing and having fun with it, I'm not turning it on. So, that's all I wanted to talk about, guys. I hope you enjoyed. Let me know what you guys think about this. For all you old school arcade players. Now, this guy that was telling me this before I let you guys go here, he was like, kid, I'm 45 years old. I was in the arcades when Street Fighter 1 hit. Yeah, so Street Fighter's just as hard if you play on that collection they released. It kicks your ass just like Mortal Kombat does because it's an arcade port. That's what I told him. It's an arcade port. It is arcade difficult. Why would you want to change that? You lose the authenticity of it.
Alright, so to be fair, since we don't have to worry about, like, you know, constantly throwing money into these things, then, like, you know, let's take it to the extreme example, right? and say, well, listen, if you want that authentic arcade AI, right, then you got to play as if you're playing in the arcade. You got $1, right? You die, that's it. You start all over again, unless you want to throw in more money. Of course, that's not going to happen. It's ridiculous, right? Because we obviously buy in these games, and now we can play it an infinite amount of times. So the fact that we can sit there endlessly and play these games without any sort of financial burden constantly, like we had in the arcade, because we only had a certain amount of currency when we go to throw in there, then you were kind of also gaming the system a little bit, are you not? Because you're not really playing authentically anymore, right? You're getting infinite amount of currency to be able to keep playing. Yeah? You know what I mean? Like, the point of the argument is, like, it's just silly, right? Like, you know, the gatekeeping, and I've seen other people talk about this before, the gatekeeping of this stuff is just ridiculous because it doesn't take away from what you do, right? It allows, it puts checks and balances now on the AI for Mortal Kombat, you know, that was, as he admitted himself, was designed to cheat. Yeah? So this is a good thing to have for those that don't have the time or can't be fucked or don't like cheap gameplay.
It feels like if you change the AI, it feels like you're playing a watered down version of the game that you're playing. So anyway, that's it, guys. Hope you enjoyed. And
anyway, I'll leave a video in the description for this gentleman, Jeff Weaver. Please go check him out. It's a great video. I mean, look, we're seeing a lot of people have these comments, and that's fine. I just don't think when it comes to something like difficulty, it necessarily needs to be gatekept. Because when you admit, as I have, as this he has, that it does cheat, then I think it's over then. Right? Like it's over. Like the argument's over. Right? I'd much rather a fair, or at least a much more sort of like pedestrian experience when I have been playing these games hardcore for 30 odd years. I don't need to play them hardcore anymore, except for when I'm fighting against people. And that's when I really want to get sweaty. Anyway, guys, catch you next time.